I just live from day to day. I don't borrow from its sunshine, for its skies may turn to gray.
Welcome to Get Connected. I'm Gloria E. Woods, and I'm a producer of this show for some time. And I am so very happy to have with me in the studio Brigitte Castellano and Gerard Wallace, who has been with us before and will be with us many more times. But today we want to focus in on the grandparents and the laws that was passed in last year, 2003. And we also want to let you know about what's going on now and what will happen in the future. And the grandparents' law the bill that was signed by Governor Pataki on October 7th, we want to zero in on that so you could see where we were, because we lobbied for that. Is it 2 years in a row?
2 years, right.
And we finally got that done. So we want to talk about that for a moment before we go into the next. But just before I do that, let me at least let you know Brigitte Castellano is a Suffolk County grandmother who is founder and executive director of the National Committee of Grandparents for Children's Rights. And the committee has members in all 50 states, and it started 4 years ago. And I was a member when it was an ad hoc committee, and I'm still a member because they can't put me out.
No.
And and I just have to let you know that, and I was so happy to hear that you were awarded a Women of Distinction Award
Thank you.
at the state capitol.
That was nice.
So am I still going to be able to speak to you after?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, okay. But she works very hard. She's an advocate for children, and especially for grandparents. And under her leadership, the committee has successfully changed the laws in New York to help children, and she's led the first National Grand Rally in Washington, D.C. So you're just too precious, you know what I'm saying? Jerry, as he's affectionately called, because I very rarely say Gerard, he's the director of the Grandparent Caregiver Law Center of the Brookdale Center on Aging of Hunter College, City University of New York. And he is an author of numerous legal articles. And those articles on grandparent caregiving. And he's had he's a Mangan. Is that how you pronounce it? Mangan cum laude?
It's Latin, so it's actually magna.
Okay, magna cum laude.
That's what they call tooting your own.
Okay, but, right.
That's what they really call it.
And if it was spelled correctly, I might. Yeah, okay. So just so you know, it wasn't me. Okay. And he's a graduate of Albany Law School and co-founder of the National Committee, and he advises lawyers and other professionals and grandparents on the many facets of law facing caregivers, actually. Jerry has worked for 9 years as an advocate for grandparent caregivers and is well known both in New York and across the nation. So we went into that so that they would know who you are, and I just would like for you to expound somewhat on the new law that was, the bill that was signed last year, which was supposed to be publicly, and they didn't do it publicly, so many grandparents don't know about it. So we will be going over and over this every now and then when we meet, because who's watching today, they may not, somebody else didn't see it, and so we will keep this out front as much as we can. So if you want to talk about it somewhat.
as you know, you worked so hard on this bill with us.
We
so
tried.
We tried.
It helped us very much.
It helped us a lot,
Thank
and
you.
we got this bill passed in 2 years, as you said. And normally it takes 7 years to get a bill passed. So
Oh, good.
it
I didn't know
shows-
that.
Yeah, so we really were able to get the job done. But what it does, the first part of the bill deals with grandparents and the child in their care. So if a child has been living with a grandparent for a 24-month period and they're forced into the court system, it becomes a best interest case. And Jerry's going to speak more about the legal aspect. So that's the first part of the bill. Before this, there was nothing. So a grandparent could be caring for a child for 10 years, and at any time that child could be removed from the grandparent's home.
That's right.
So, you always hear that word permanency, which is, a great buzzword. So we need permanencies for the kids in our care, too. So that was an incredible bill. The second part of the bill is that when a child is removed from a parental home, that all the grandparents be notified. Very important as well, because by the time grandparents find out that the child is in foster care, and we try to get that child removed from foster care, we can't do it. So the child is losing their family, we're losing the kids who really
Yes.
belong with the family. So that's very important. And the third aspect of the bill is at the same time that they notify the grandparents, they're supposed to tell the grandparents that they can act as foster parents if they need to have those services and that financial help available to them. So.
And that's forced to kinship, because it's
Right.
a family member,
Exactly.
and they should be told. But wasn't that on the books in some form
Oh, yes.
Well,
already? But they weren't doing it.
exactly. There's actually an Adoption Safe Families Act.
Okay.
That's a federal law that says relatives should be notified at the same time.
Yes,
They should be
it-
telling them that they can act as foster parents.
Exactly.
That didn't happen. So,
It's amazing when they say New York has over 413,000 grandparents heading households, and I mean that's
That's a
just
lot.
that's a great deal, because every time you look now you see a grandparent taking a child to
Absolutely.
school.
If I could, I just want to tell you the one thing that Senator Clinton came out with, little statistics that said within the next few years, 1 out of every 11 grandparents will become a caregiver. So that really puts it in perspective
Wow.
a lot.
Well, there's a New York law effective as of January 5th
That's that law.
Day.
of this
Yeah.
year. Okay, do you want to talk on
Yeah,
that?
Gloria, you made a very good point earlier about the fact that this law isn't well known. I came from a meeting earlier today with some attorneys, and they pointed out to me that a July decision here in New York City that went against a grandmother, the grandmother's attorney failed to use this law, nor did the court use it in its decision.
You see?
Here we are, something like 7 months after the law is supposedly effective law throughout all of New York State, and judges and attorneys are unaware of it. So it isn't just grandparents alone who need to be educated, but the whole legal community. And the reason that has happened is that we didn't have a public signing, so there was very little press
Right.
around it. And the lines of communication that are supposed to give the attorneys this knowledge, as well as the judges, just didn't pick up on it. So we have here
That's
a
sad.
groundbreaking.
It's terrible.
It's a groundbreaking piece of legislation that's favorable to grandparents. More rights for grandparents than anywhere else in the nation, and yet it's still under the radar. That's why we need to talk about it. It can help
Right.
grandparents in so
We
many
have
ways.
to keep it out front.
Absolutely.
I know that many people don't know, but I know that you can call your own press conference.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, this just came to me, and there's nowhere in my notes. So, I'm throwing
Yeah.
this out at you.
Mm-hmm.
But if that be the case, I mean, that is the case.
Right, and
But
we've
why
held
can't
press
we do that?
conferences.
Why can't we do that so that we can talk about this particular law that has already
Right.
taken place?
Exact. Well, we could actually do that, and that's an interesting point. I mean, we really could do that from a.
Well,
can-
couple
we-
of points.
We've
yeah.
been. Go ahead.
There was a press conference when the law was signed by the governor, but it didn't get much play. Subsequently, the New York State Office of Children and Family Services is supposed to be putting out a memorandum to all the child welfare departments, ACS in New York, and it just hasn't happened yet. And that's really wrong. It's been delayed for something like 5 months. That's not right. Trying to pick up what needs to be done, the AARP, together with Brigitte's group, is putting out a brochure on it, and also another group called Legal Information for Service Providers is putting out a brochure. So we're trying to get it out there. We need to do more.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I, as a citizen that's voting and know of this, and so many that don't know of this,
Right.
You know, I mean, I'm gung ho about it because I'm making copies and making copies of. Jerry was so gracious to type out the law when it was passed, so that it's in English and people can understand. It's like talking to a doctor, so you don't get the medical jargon, so
Get
you
the
don't get the
legal,
legal right.
Right.
So I just feel that we need to do something.
You're
We
right.
can't wait on them anymore.
No.
What they want to do after that, that's fine.
Right.
But what it is that we can do, it needs to be done.
We've actually been kind of
And-
sitting back waiting for them to
Yeah, well,
bring this
Put them
brochure
in
out.
You know how
It
that
wasn't
goes.
supposed to be this late. But you're right, and Jerry just mentioned that case. That's criminal. This child was removed from the grandparents' home. The whole point of getting this law passed was so this doesn't happen to children.
Exactly.
So shame
So-
on that attorney, shame on the judge, but also shame on us that we're not, working hard to get that word out more.
You know, Gloria, but this is just a symptom of the greater problem, that the grandparents did not have the recognition that they deserve because of
Exactly.
the wonderful
Right.
work they do.
Right.
And mainly why Brigitte began this group and why we've worked so hard these years with grandparents all throughout New York City, starting here in Brooklyn, if you may recall, and
right.
now throughout the country, is that we need to have these grandparents recognized as a wonderful resource, and we need to have them become a constituency that can grab the power they need from the lawmakers. Otherwise, they're just not going to be listened to. You know, every politician is willing to say, "Oh yes, I'll help you," but they only help you when they feel the pain.
Voting
Exactly.
time.
Because in my notes, it's saying that, in your explaining the law fully, and finding out what the new circumstance is, many grandparents would want to know about this law. So
Oh,
how can they
yes.
find it out? So one of my questions is, we need to do what we need to do, as long as it's legal, and just go ahead and do it.
Sure.
I mean, it's that simple to me. Now, if there's more, if there's more to it than I'm saying, so that I wouldn't give anybody false hope that this can be done, I see no reason why we cannot go forth and do this on our own.
Have a press conference.
Have
I
a
mean,
press
we've called
conference, and I know you know how to pull a press conference
You're right,
together.
we've done it, right.
Oh boy, have we done it! So.
It's an interesting thought.
And I
again,
just think that this
Yeah.
is something that, because there are too many people that in this city right
they
here
don't know.
that don't know.
If they don't know in the city where a lot of this has been taking place, they're not going to know upstate.
Upstate,
It's
and
only
you
on
have
the
wasn't it in April when we went up? There was like 10 more states that was connected with taking part in the
April
in
28th.
the April 28th when we went to Albany.
Oh yeah,
So I mean, there are
Yeah.
people that's touching more and more.
it's growing tremendously.
It's growing tremendously,
Yes, it
and
really
and
is.
it's great. So, I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I'm going to stay on somebody until we're
You're right.
standing somewhere, holding a press conference on something that should have been told.
Yeah.
To and we may not get everybody then, but I can guarantee that we'll get more people than watching this show right now. Although this is a great show, but we need the numbers to know what's happening. There's too many people that they're suffering from this, and there's a law there for them that's
For the
not
children.
working.
And actually, that case that you mentioned, Sherry, could be a reason why we
Yeah,
need a
right.
press conference
right.
to be held. Because here we go. You know.
Because I
again,
was going to say, what needs to be done to make this law more effective? The new law that has come into effect in January.
Well, certainly you would think that the lawyers themselves should know about it. Because if you go to
Yeah,
a lawyer and he doesn't know about it, you're in trouble.
and this is what happened here.
And
it's
attorneys
actually, so far, the
you
family
can't
law
afford
is not happening.
attorneys
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
Right.
Well, that is one of the objects that we were lobbying for earlier this
Yeah.
year. We felt that the next logical step was for a grandmother or a grandfather who wanted to use this law to get legal custody of a child against an absentee parent when the child's been living with them for 2 years or more. They need counsel, and who can
Right.
pay for an attorney?
Right. Exactly.
You know, if you can pay for attorney once, you certainly can't pay for them again, because now you're broke.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Deep in
So
debt.
we approached the legislature asking them to set up that assigned counsel could be provided. And they are interested in doing it, but this year was just not a good year up in Albany, as many people know. Hopefully we're going to get there. It's another one of those things that's going to be a fight, but grandparents need more legal assistance to be provided
Exactly.
specifically for them.
Yeah, I've come together with attorneys at the Bed-Stuy Community Legal Services, and I've been connecting a lot of people. You were here when
Yeah,
they
I
were on
remember
the
meeting
show.
them. They're very
Right.
good.
And
Yes.
this is free to those people that
Right.
need attorneys.
That's great.
And it goes by zip code, wherever it is that you live. That's the
Right.
the office that you go to. And I mean, all you have to do is call Parents United for Justice, and at 718, I'm forgetting my own number, 718 531 4946, and you can certainly get as much information from me as you possibly can, and what I can't give you, I will certainly refer you to the the right place to go. When we say that parents are delegated with authority, don't parents already do that?
Well, no, New York State, you're talking about the parental
The parental, I'm
authorization
sorry, the
bill, no.
parental authorization, right?
Not in New York, no. They can't. No,
Mm-hmm.
and this is the part that we were trying to get the
Yeah.
legislator across and to the governor was the fact that now the war is going on in Iraq, we've got Afghanistan, and as far as the military is concerned, they have something like this in the military already. But there are a lot of civilians who are serving overseas, and there's nothing. If they're serving overseas and they have to delegate someone to take the enroll the child in school, take the child to the doctor, there's nothing in New York State that gives them that authority to select someone to do this. So we really need to get this passed. And again, the governor vetoed this twice. It's been in the legislature for 7 years. We have
And this
to
is
push
another
this.
example of New York State's legislature having a rough time this year.
Right.
They passed a version of this thing. It's called the Caregiver Authorization Bill.
Right.
And what it does is it says a parent can delegate their authority to someone else for schooling or for medical care. Common practice, as you said, but there is no statute in New York that backs it up. And once in a while it comes up to bite you. And someone, a medical provider or a school will not let you get away with it. So we wanted to make the practice of grandparents helping informally, have the law conform to the practice. 40-something states have laws in this area. New York doesn't, and yet they couldn't get it done again this year. So we've got, in the background we've made progress, but we need to work hard at getting the legislature to be responsible and listen to us.
You're going to say it's nothing totally stopped yet because the legislature's back in session and we're trying to get a call-in date together. The ARP is trying to do this. So we have one day where everyone can call an 800 number and put some pressure on them and say, hey, get this bill passed, really.
Yeah, hopefully I'll be able to do a show before that's to take place so we can get that 800 number out there and people can get on the line and call, because we have this authorization act. What I want want you to let the public know is what is the difference between a bill and an act.
Oh, sure, I should. They say it's enacted into law. So when it's enacted into law, it becomes law. It only becomes law when two branches of government have worked on it. First, you need the legislative branch, which in New York has two bodies, the Assembly and the Senate. Both of them have to pass the same version, and then it's sent over to the governor, and the governor can either veto the bill or he can sign it into law. Essentially, that's the way it works. He has a certain period of time to do that, and if he vetoes it, the bill does not become law. It does not become enacted.
Right.
It is enacted when both of them have acted on that bill, and therefore it becomes law. And as Brigitte said, the average bill sits in Albany for over 7 years, and many of them don't even become law at that point. We did one in 2 years. We made a bill into an act.
Right.
And we're going to get more done because grandparents deserve it. And they need to come out there and get in touch with Brigitte, and we got to work hard, harder.
Well, I'm a grandparent.
Oh, I know.
You're a
I know.
grandparent. And you
Absolutely.
got a little way
I've
to
got a
go.
little one, so I know how tired those grandparents are.
And Jerry, what would you like to see as next year's agenda?
Well, there's one other item that we need to mention in this call-in. The New York State Office of Children and Family Services is funding 18 programs for grandparents right now. It's called Help for Caretaker Relatives. And this year, the budget, being in such disarray, those programs are losing their funding. The little that New York is doing for grandparents is now being cut because of the budget issues. So part of our call on this year is to get them to refund them. But we need to go much further. We've got 143,000 grandparents solely responsible for kids. over 400,000 grandparents with children in their homes. We need to be putting real money into it. I'm working right now on a study to advise the New York State Legislature on creating a one-stop shopping system for New York so that the grandparents can get the assistance they need. It'll be a budget item, but over the next few years, we've got to work to get it done.
Right.
That's great. I understand that the AARP is working on a summit for this
Right.
fall.
November, yes.
And what's the plan, and are you involved?
I'm involved.
I don't
Jerry's
even know why I'm asking are you involved. You're in everything. But you can tell the people what.
Well, there is a summit, but actually Jerry's the one who, even though I am involved, it's really Jerry's been kind of holding the ball there and really running with it with Beth Finkel from AARP.
And when you're speaking of a summit, to break it down, to know exactly what it is that,
it's going to be, it actually has to deal with many organizations
Yeah.
who are into one coalition, New York State Coalition, and grandparents will also be invited, obviously, but we're trying to really get the professionals in there from social services and some judges and everything, say, hey, listen, look at this, look what's going on here. So it's kind of an education thing.
Well, I think there's a further step than that, and that there are summits and conferences all the time, and you get ad nauseum to the point you're so sick of somebody telling you what the problem is. You want a solution.
we want
Right.
solutions.
We want to go
Solution.
further.
Exactly.
And the
Right.
purpose of this is to sit the government people down and put a little heat on their feet and see if we can get them hot enough to dance. So, and
Exactly.
we're having special breakout groups. We're going to have done surveys. We're going to have the issues in front of them and the solutions, and we want them to commit to those solutions. And in every one of those breakout groups, there's going to be grandparents who are active participants who will represent themselves and their interests. We're hoping that the result is a white paper that is a call to action for the government, with the government having committed itself to doing some real things. We're going to get it's really the outgrowth of 4 years of action on our part, and it's the next step. You know, no longer can they just say, "Oh yeah, we're going to help," and then turn around and nobody answers the phone.
Yeah, no what? Yes, exactly.
We want that ink on paper now, you know, that
Right,
signature.
right. Well, the people will be able to see your number, Brigitte, on the screen,
Great.
and Jerry, your number will be shown. Your websites will be there, and I'm just very happy to have had you here
Oh, we're happy to
today.
be
But
here.
for those that need to know that this is just part one, because we have to go into the federal legislation.
Yes.
And as long as we can break it down so people, the public, can know and understand what is going on. Because a lot of times politics come on and they turn the channel, because half the time they just talk around and around and around, and a lot of them don't say anything. Because we have these agencies that are out there that's supposed to do a job that's not doing their job. They're falling down on the job, and people are being hurt. The children are being taken away still.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
became involved when it happened to me and my grandson
Right.
back in 1996. And my organization, Parents United for Justice, started because of it. And I had to go through an experience in order to help other people, which I couldn't understand at the time. But you're still going through an experience, and we're hoping that it ends for you sometime soon, because you know, your work is not going unnoticed. God is watching, and the right thing will happen for you. You just hold on to your faith, because
Absolutely.
that's what if you believe it, it will happen for you.
Oh, I believe
You know,
that.
because you're doing a
Absolutely.
good work for so many people.
Oh, thank you so
And
much.
Jerry, I can't tell you, it's just you're marvelous.
No,
It's
You know,
beyond
he's
words.
so he's so very helpful.
Yeah.
And anytime that I need any questions answered, he's always there to answer it for me, and it helps me to help other people. That's what my card says: helping you to help others. And so we are so happy to be able to be on BCAT and to be able to let the people know, because my show comes on every second Saturday every month at 7:30 in the evening. Have been for 5 years, so they haven't thrown me out yet, and
thing.
if they try, I'm not going.
You're doing good work.
This is the best. This is the best, and we thank God to be able to be here. And I'm appreciated by others, and because they tell me so. I'm
I
not
believe
patting
it.
myself on the back.
Good for you.
They let me know. So we thank you so much again.
Thank you, Gloria.
Thanks, Gloria.
And
Thank
you're
you
a
so much,
blessing
honey.
to me,
Thanks, Gloria.
and it's good to be called your friend.
Oh,
Thank you.
Really, I
Thank
appreciate
you.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Well, it seems they don't want us to go.
Well,
Now they
Okay.
tell me to stretch it. So, so we're going to stretch, and they can play
Okay.
they can play the music while we're stretching.
All right. Did you want to
Right.
talk about